What's up, y'all? You're watching Union Minded. I'm your host, Eric, and today we're going to discuss union elections in a way. Why? Because I was asked a question in the comment section, and I like to answer sometimes from the goodie bag. So what was the question? How are mailers handled at Local 26? Good question. Here's the answer, and I'll do the best that I can to explain it. And understand something, for those of you who are outside of Local 26, part of a different union altogether, there are mechanisms in place for you to find out how your campaign literature is distributed. There are mechanisms in place for you to find out how your union runs, how your constitution, what's in it, what are your rights. There is plenty of information out there for you to look at. You can go to your union hall and ask for your founding document. You can ask for your bylaws, your constitution, your contract, and get a copy of those physically. A lot of that stuff's available online as well. Labor law is established federal law. It was established in the 30s. It was expanded in the 50s. And it's been the same, pretty much unchanged for a very long time. Very easy to look up and find this stuff. So I'm going to do my best to explain how our election mailers are currently handled. So here we go. First thing to know is that our bylaws is where we find our election procedures and the rules which govern them. Bylaws. If you look at Article 3, Section 7D, you can find the language explaining mailers and the law that governs our elections, the LMRDA of 1959. The local union shall comply with all reasonable requests of any bona fide candidate for local union office to distribute his or her campaign literature to the membership at the candidate's expense. In handling all such requests, the local union shall comply with the IBEW Local Election Guide and with applicable Department of Labor regulations under the Labor Management Reporting Disclosure Act of 1959. So this tells you that our elections here are based off of the LMRDA that passed in 1959, and out of that section, they have to comply with that section. So that's where this comes from. So if we look at the LMRDA, we're going to find very similar language to what's in our bylaws. And the rule specifically found in the LMRDA is found under Title 4, Section 401C. And this is what it says. Every local labor organization and its officers shall be under a duty to comply with all reasonable requests of any candidate to distribute by mail or otherwise, at the candidate's expense, campaign literature in aid of such person's candidacy to all members in good standing of such labor organization, and to refrain from discrimination in favor of or against any candidate with respect to the use of lists of mailers. And again, if you look at our language, the local union shall comply with all reasonable requests of any bona fide candidate for local union office to distribute their campaign literature to the membership at the candidate's expense. And in handling those requests, it has to comply with the LMRDA. So that's why you find such similar language, because our union bylaws have to comply with federal law. Our Constitution has to comply with federal law. Our bylaws do not supersede our Constitution, and our Constitution does not supersede federal law. Does that make any sense to you guys as you're listening to this? Now, I stopped reading 401C when I got to where was it? With respect to the use of lists of members, right? But there's a comma there and the sentence goes on. And whenever such labor organizations or its officers authorize the distribution by mail or otherwise to members of campaign literature on behalf of any candidate or of the labor organization itself with reference to such election, similar distribution at the request of any other bona fide candidate shall be made by such labor organization and its officers with equal treatment to the expense of such distribution. All right, so what that's saying is, if the organization decided to send out a mailer, because again, remember, this law came about in 59 because of corruption that was going on. So if a union decided to send out a mailer, and they used union funds to promote one candidate over others, that would be illegal. That you can't do that. But what this allows for is for the union to operate freely within itself on how it wants to do elections, as long as it treats everyone equally. So if the union decided that it wanted to send out mailers for everybody, then that's legal. If it wanted to send out mailers for only one, that's illegal. All right, so that just for you guys that are in other unions, understand that there's varying degrees to how a union may operate its election, but the LMRDA is pretty clear on how election mailers are supposed to be done. When we look at the IBEW Constitution, we can also see that it has something about elections, and it's saying when under Article 25, Section 1M, 1 and 2, you'll find the following language. And for those who are doubting me, here's my Constitution. You guys know I read it and I look at what I'm talking about. Number 1, notwithstanding the above, and in addition to the sample ballot, a local union may distribute an official publication which shall list all candidates for local union office, together with a factual record of activities within the local union, committee assignments performed, offices held, and experience gained for and on behalf of the local union. This publication shall be prepared under the supervision of the duly designated local union election board. The distribution of this official local union publication, properly prepared as forth, shall not be in violation of the Constitution. So the Constitution also says that unions have a freedom to operate their elections as long as they're within the guidelines of, again, the LMRDA, which supersedes both. So how does it work right now? Right now, mailers can be sent out at the candidate's cost, and the cost of that depends on your membership. If you got 100 members in your union, it's going to be a little cheaper to send out some mailers. If you got 30,000 members, well, you can imagine it's going to be pretty expensive to send out mailers. For Local 26, it's at cost, and our membership is about 11,000. You do the math on what that can cost, but that is how election mailers are currently handled here at 26, and you can find the information for your union. Look up the LMRDA, go to Title 4, start reading. And also in the LMRDA, you're going to find your Bill of Rights, where you have rights that a lot of times we don't know about. Look up the LMRDA and read them so you can understand your rights, but also be active in your union. Your union needs you. It's the most direct way to affect change for your daily work life. And if you don't have a union, organize a union, for crying out loud. It places you at the seat of the table in control of what you provide for a company. Right now, the way things work, we have little kingdoms in America, Amazon, Exxon, all these little kingdoms, and the workers are the serfs. And right now, only 6% of us have unions in the private sector, slightly higher in the public sector. It's a very low number, but union approval is at 70% and higher. So why is it that we don't have unions all over the place? It's because we don't know. There is a different way to rule those kingdoms. It doesn't have to be a kingdom. It can be a democracy. Unions provide a democracy to your work life so that you can have a say in your wages, in your conditions, in the stuff that's negotiated on your behalf, in the way that you're represented. There's laws in place, there's structure in place, and it's on us to get educated about it so that we can organize unions and we can really provide real change for our communities. Because depending on politicians, while that's part of a strategy, is a fool's game if you're going to place all your faith in a politician to save you. Things are bad for a reason. People are living check to check at a 60% clip for a reason. Wages aren't going up for a reason. I leave the decision on you on what you think that reason is, but I know what the solution is: unions. Unions are what built the middle class and expanded it to where it became so big that it terrified folks. Unions are the answers. And the way you get strong unions is by having very robust democratic unions, where the rank and file are the ones that control changes and push agendas forward. My name's Eric. You're watching Union Minded. Remember, the fight's not left and right. It's up and down. It's going to take solidarity to win always. Each one teach one. Get out there and reach one. And remember, there can be no union without you and I front and center. Peace.